Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, but we're going to head up towards the Stockholm area for this one, and we're having a look at a beer that is a collaboration between two breweries with very strong connections to New Zealand actually, which makes it quite interesting to me because I'm a huge fan of the New Zealand hops. Mainly in Europe, of course, you'll see Nelson Sauvin being the one that's talked about and things, but you know, you've got Waiti, Rakau, Malteke, you know, there's a whole host of different hops from New Zealand that are given all these Maori names, of course, and they're very good, lovely big fruity characters from them. I discovered those myself back in 2015 when I was there, and then I discovered one of these breweries, of course. So the two breweries that are involved here, one of them I've reviewed before, and this must be review number 5 or so involving them, and the other one I've never tried before. So for this particular review we are going to go to Ekerö, which is a little bit to the southwest of Stockholm City, and we're having a taste of another beer from Nordic Kiwi Brewers, NKB, and this is a collaboration that they've done with Stränge Brewing Company, who originally were from Strängnäs, but they're now brewing a number of their kind of larger production beers at NKB's facility in Ekerö as well. And the artwork on this one is a collaboration with Graffiti Stockholm, which is why it looks quite different to the artwork you'll find on either of these two breweries' things. The beer itself is called the Kaos IPA, and it comes in at 6.5% ABV. Now this one was released through Systembolaget in October of 2019. I actually can't remember whether this was one that was released through the local and small assortments at the start of the month, or whether it was one of the small partiers actually. So I'm really not quite sure about that, but it was definitely released in October of 2019, and they released this particular one along with Clive, because two of the artists that work for this Graffiti Stockholm company, one of them is known as Chaos, one of them is known as Clive. So Chaos and Clive, two different beers. So I'll need to order the other one and see if I can review that one for you as well. But very much looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. Always keen to try New Zealand IPAs, of course, on the channel, so do give me some recommendations of those if you're if you're watching throughout Europe and other New Zealand hopped IPAs. I'm always a big fan of those. But anyway, looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about both the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Nordic Kiwi Brewers before, no doubt I'll add some more in the near future, and a link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Stränge Brewing Company. Very first time I'm encountering them, as I mentioned, and hopefully not the last time. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about the breweries then, we'll kick off with Nordic Kiwi Brewers then, since they are the home brewery in this case. On to my brewery notes. So Nordic Kiwi Brewers, as I mentioned to you before, are based in Ekerö, which is out to the west of Stockholm, and it was founded by two New Zealanders. This is Craig Donovan and Karen Beattie, and they founded the company together back in 2014. Now apparently they began home brewing because Swedish beer is so expensive, and they began buying hops from Nelson in New Zealand, and this of course became one of the quirks about this brewery, is that all their beers are done using the New Zealand hops. There's no natural competitors for hop plants in New Zealand, which has made it a little bit of a haven for experimenting and creating lots of different types of hops down there. But they set up the commercial brewery in a room using equipment that they found mainly on Blocket, which of course is the Swedish equivalent of like Craigslist or something like this. I don't know what the Scottish equivalent of that would be actually, but Craigslist is probably the most worldwide known one. But Karen apparently met his Swedish lady in New Zealand, and the pair later moved to London together, and he spent some time working in the construction industry before they moved to Sweden. Karen works full-time at the brewery, while Craig is part-time and also works for Ericsson as well, and the niche of this brewery, as I mentioned earlier, is that they brew all of their beers with New Zealand hops, and since 2017 They both work full-time in the brewery, so Craig left his job at Ericsson back in 2017. In late 2018 though, they moved to a larger brewery in Ekerö, and that year they brewed around 100,000 litres of beer per year, and their target for 2019 is to take their brewing capacity up to around 200,000 litres. But they've also hired a new Kiwi brewer to join them, and they're planning to install a new brewing system in the brewery very soon as well, actually. And they might have done that already since I did my last review from these guys. That was a couple of months back, actually, and it was I think it was a golden ale, which was quite nice. But yeah, a really interesting brewery. This one is quite unusual to find a brewery that focuses solely on using New Zealand hops in their beers over here in Sweden, but it's a very welcome addition to the Swedish craft beer scene, and if you haven't tried some of their beers already, I would recommend that you do. When it comes to the styles of beer that they're doing, mainly they're doing kind of New England style IPAs and pale ales and stuff like this, and they're quite sort of rustic. You know, you've got that sort of farmhousey, grainy, herbally, vegetally kind of thing in the middle of the palate, because they're using the yeasts that are kind of similar to what you would find in, say, you know, like Heady Topper and stuff like that. That's the kind of beers that you'll find from Nordic Kiwi Brewers. So yeah, a really interesting little brewery, this one, and I'll need to keep an eye out on what other releases these guys are bringing out over the next little while, but definitely check them out if you get the chance. That was all I was able to find out about Nordic Kiwi Brewers for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to see all the different beers that they've done. But yeah, let's go on to our second brewery then, and like I said, this is a brewery that is completely new to me. So Stränge Brewing Company. So Stränge Brewing Company were originally brewed in Strängnäs, and they were founded back in 2013. Some sources are saying 2014 by Irishman Tom Casey and New Zealand Maori Glenn Eriksson Hu. But before founding the brewery officially, these two had been homebrewing together for approximately 18 months, and they developed a number of different recipes. Glenn, though, had been homebrewing since his university days back in 1994 in Auckland, and he'd been inspired apparently by the Shakespeare Brewpub, which was the first brewpub that opened up in New Zealand as part of the new wave of craft beer over there. But the company, though, is now run solely by Glenn along with his wife Ulrika, who is Swedish, and they brew their main beers in Ekerö at Nordic Kiwi Brewers facility. But their new beers, pilot batches and collaborations though, are brewed in the original brewery, which can be found in Espoo. It's known as the Brew Lab. This is fitted with a 1,000 litre system along with a 40 litre pilot system as well. And they also run some brewing workshops up there from what I understand as well. And they do have like a food truck, street food kind of arm of the business too. A lot of the ingredients that they use in their beers apparently come from, like, you know, his family's gardens. One of his cousins or something like that was a commercial fisher or something like this as well. So they've been, you know, he gets a lot of ingredients from different people in his family. Some of them come from New Zealand, and a lot of them kind of come from people that he knows in the local area, and his family in the local area around Sweden as well. But this brewery is apparently named for the fact that Glenn couldn't say Strängnäs when he first came to Sweden, and, you know, he used to pronounce it as strangeness, and that just stuck with him, so he decided to name his brewery the Stränge Brewing Company. So yeah, kind of interesting, this one. And you know, as I say, it's quite cool to come across a second Kiwi brewery here in Sweden. It's quite unusual, actually. There's a lot of you know, there's a lot of connections between Scotland, of course, and New Zealand. A lot of the white settlers that went to New Zealand back in the day were Scottish and Irish, and a lot of Maoris, when you meet them, very, very nice people. The artwork on their houses is fantastic as well, but a lot of them actually do have some Scottish or Irish blood in them, and apparently the Scots and Irish were very nice to them when they went over there for you know, later on and things, so they do have a fairly kind of good relationship with you if you are Scottish. Not really the same if you're English, in my experience in New Zealand. And, you know, you see that connection with places like Dunedin in New Zealand, because of course Dunedin is Gaelic for Edinburgh too, so there's a big connection there between Scotland and New Zealand. They're very laid back people, very, very nice, kind of can-do attitude and stuff like this. A bit different from Scottish people, because we're a bit, you know, genetically angry and stuff, but New Zealand, very, very pretty country in my experience, and like I say, cool to come across a second brewery that you know, that has a Kiwi connection as well, and, you know, a Maori connection to it also, which is kind of cool. They're very interesting people, the Maoris. British stole trench warfare from them for the First World War and things like that too. But yeah, we're getting off on a tangent now, but that's all you really need to know about the Stränge Brewing Company as well. An interesting brewery, this one, and I will need to see if I can order one of their beers and do a dedicated review to them at some point in the near future. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer then. So like I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 6.5% IPA. It's the artwork on this one is done by the Graffiti Stockholm company, and the beers are named after two of the artists. This is Karl Clive Winblad and Lars Kaos Gjersted, and this one of course is the Chaos and the other one is the Clive. So Chaos and Clive, two beers that have been released. I will order the other one and get that reviewed for you as well, and like I said a minute ago, I will see about doing a dedicated review to the Stränge Brewing company as well. So as you can see, really nice artwork on this one. This Graffiti Stockholm company, basically they do graffiti paintings around around Stockholm and different buildings and things like that. If someone hires them, right, do us a big graffiti painting here, and these guys will do it. If you look on their website, I'll try and remember to put that in the description below, but if you look on the website, some of the artwork that they've done is really, really quite cool actually. I was never a big art buff, but with all the heavy metal albums and stuff that I listen to, I'm a great fan of like album artwork and things like this. But this is kind of cool, that actually the little cartoon character in the thing drinking his beer. So yeah, it's pretty cool actually. That's one of the things, you've always got to have colourful artwork on your beers to make them stand out a little bit. You just need to hope that the beer itself matches the artwork. But yeah, let's get this guy out then, and we'll get on with the tasting. A 6.5% New England. Well, actually, is it going to be a New England one? I'm not sure. I'm saying it's just a 6.5% IPA. Whether it's New England or not, we'll just need to see. I don't think it's said on the side. No, it says corn malt, havre and vetemalt. So yeah, it's got oats and wheat in it, so probably is more of a kind of New England style IPA, this one, but not quite as hazy as some of the other ones you're going to see in terms of its appearance. If we hold this beer up to the light though, it comes across as a nice sort of, it comes across as quite a nice standard kind of amber colour, but more leaning towards the yellow end of amber. You can see there's a solid third finger of a bumpy white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few bubbles visible going up towards the bottom of the head there, but not overly visible carbonation on this one. It looks like quite a cam beer, to be honest with you. But yeah, nice bright yellowy amber colour, this beer. Nothing overly surprising about it in terms of its appearance when you consider that it is an IPA, and going by the ingredients on the back, it looks as if it's going to be a New England IPA. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh, that comes across really nicely actually. Yeah, that comes across pretty damn nicely, I have to say. So straight away you're going to notice that this beer is quite tropical. To me there's a little bit of, there is a little bit of a kind of stronger passion fruity flavour to this one. But you do have a little bit of a kind of mangoey pineapple type thing in there as well. But the passion fruit really gives the beer a little bit more pungency within that kind of tropical fruit type aroma. That's nice actually how that goes together. Not really any kind of oranges in this one, and when you sugar the beer up, I can tell you this is going to be kind of similar to the other Nordic Kiwi beers. It's using one of those more kind of farmhousey type yeasts that you would associate with the likes of that you would associate with the likes of, say, yeah, Heady Topper, the Alchemist Brewery, rather than the kind of smoother, creamy things that you'd associate with perhaps like Stigbergets or something like that. So yeah, that's an interesting aroma coming off this beer. So underneath you definitely get some of the oaty creaminess, you get some of the white bready notes as well, but there is a little bit of that kind of rusticy, dusty, grainy, farmhousey kind of thing in there, vegetal, slightly herbal, grainy type thing. So yeah, the malty base in this is quite interesting. There's maybe just a little touch of a biscuit sweetness as well. On the green side of the hops there's definitely a little bit of an earthiness to it, but that could be kind of things coming out from the yeast strain that they've used in here, the little bit of an earthiness. Definitely some nice big floral notes too, and that's sort of adding to the pungency of the passion fruity notes I was talking about earlier. But you can pick out a little bit of a grassy note to this one, but mainly the green side of the hops is a little bit earthy and also a little bit floral. But like I said, the fruity side of this beer, good bit of pungency, like a bit of a passion fruity pungency to this one. Some lighter mangoey notes. Definitely a little bit of an appley peary kind of thing coming out of it as well. And also a little bit of pineapple or apricot or something too. So kind of interesting. It leans a little bit more towards the juicy end of the tropical spectrum, if you like these lighter fruits like pineapples, pineapples, apricots and things like this, but it does have a little bit of that pungency, that passion fruity pungency as well, which could be coming from a little bit of Galaxy or something like that. But then again, like I said, this brewery tend to use the New Zealand hops, and I couldn't tell you exactly off the top of my head which one it is that's going to give you the passion fruit. I mean, you know, there's so many different New Zealand hops. You've got Rakau, Aite, Malteke, Maltere, all of these kind of things. There's so many different hops down there that I've forgotten more hops, more names of New Zealand hops than I care to admit, to be honest with you. But it will probably be one of those things like Rakau or something like this that's giving you that. I'm sure Rakau actually does give you a good bit of a passion fruity note, and it's probably blended in there with something else actually. I'm sure I had a Behemoth beer that had Rakau in it when I was down in New Zealand, which was really nice. But yeah, lovely juicy tropical fruity note to this one, and then a sort of classic old school, if you like, old school New England farmhousey type IPA yeasty quality to this beer. So take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of it before you get stuck in. It comes across very nicely, but we're going to have a taste of this beer now and just see how we get on. This one is the Kaos IPA, a collaboration between Nordic Kiwi Brewers in Ekerö, Stränge Brewing Company, who are originally from Espoo, but now are Strängnäs, but are now based in, are now brewing most of their beers in Ekerö as well. And the artwork on this one is from Graffiti Stockholm. So let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. That's really nice actually. In fairness, when I think about this, this one could be the sort of smoothest and nicest New England IPA, or the smoothest that New England IPA, or just IPA generally, that I've had from Nordic Kiwi Brewers so far actually. This is the one that really just ticks all the boxes for me. Yeah, no, I like how that goes together. It gets a big thumbs up from me actually. I really like I like this beer. You know, this is probably the best, as I say, the best IPA I've had from Nordic Kiwi Brewers so far. So if they can keep that standard up, they are really on to a winner. Their beers have always been interesting, but that one is a level above what I've had from them before, in fairness. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, you're going to notice with this one straight away, the kind of vibe that I get from this beer really reminds me a lot of the you know, some of the beers that I'll drink at Malma Taproom. I keep complaining about that brewery. I really wish that they would bottle some of their beers and can them so I could review them for you here. But you know, this is really quite nice actually. I like how this beer goes together. So let's try and break the flavour of this one down a little bit then. So what you're going to notice about this beer straight away is just how kind of smooth, and it's quite an oily New England IPA, this one. It's definitely New England with the oats and things in it, but straight away you can feel that nice wheaty, white bready quality just blanket the middle of your tongue. The further that you go into the aftertaste, you're going to notice that wheaty quality. It thickens up a little bit, not overly, but you can really feel in the aftertaste the wheat just has that little bit of an astringency thing, that kind of almost citrusy quality there. That'll be some of the yeast that's contributing to that as well, in fairness actually, but you can really feel the wheaty qualities of this beer just thicken up a little bit. In the centre of your palate you've got a nice kind of oaty, creamy quality in there as well, and then you've got a nice kind of biscuity malt in the middle of your palate too. I mean, it's 6.5%. If I was, in fairness, if I was to blind taste this beer, I would probably think that this is actually a double IPA rather than a single IPA, you know, 6.5%, because the prominence of the biscuity notes in this one is quite noticeable actually, and usually that's the kind of thing that's covering up the sort of alcohol of this beer. So if I blind tasted this, I probably would reckon that it's a double IPA rather than a single. But that's taken away nothing of the flavour of this one actually. It does come across as being quite well balanced, if you like. So yeah, the malt base isn't doing anything overly surprising. I was talking about with the aroma that I thought this one was going to be quite, you know, rusticy and farmhousey, but it's really not. It is starting to lean more towards that kind of creamy smooth side of things that you might expect from, say, like Spike Brewery over in Gothenburg. This beer actually does remind me of some of the ones that they've done too. So yeah, it gets a thumb. This one definitely gets a thumbs up from me. I really like what they're going for here. The malt base is really nicely done, a little bit more kind of smooth and things, if you like, compared to some of the previous efforts from Nordic Kiwi. As I say, I can't really comment on Stränge Brewing Company's other beers because I haven't tried them. That's something for the future. But yeah, the way the malt base goes together in this is really nice. There is perhaps a little teensy bit of a graininess comes out of this beer later on in the aftertaste, and that'll be from the yeasty, the strains of yeast that they're using in this one. And I would guess just from the aromas as well that it is one of these more kind of farmhousey type ones. It's definitely not like London Fog or Lallemand or anything like that. It is, I'm pretty sure it's a more kind of farmhousey related one rather than one of those. But overall the malt base is nice, like I said. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, teeny little bit of earthiness there, but as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, it becomes really big and floral and aromatic, and I like that about this beer. It's almost a little bit spicy on the front corners of the palate too. As you go round the front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy in my experience also, so I like how that goes together. Behind the front curve of the tongue, you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer, and it's pretty much kind of what you would expect from the aroma, to be honest with you. It's very, the fruitiness comes out in a very similar manner actually. So at the back of that oily bubble, you've got a little bit of that kind of darker, more pungent passion fruit. Yeah, there is just a little bit of that there at the back of that bubble, but as you come further forward, it's got a little bit of a... There is a little touch of a mango there, but I really think it's leaning more towards a sort of pineapple-y kind of note, to be honest with you. Pineapples is the one that's really jumping out of my head at me, but it might be a little bit sort of like papaya, apricots. There's a little bit of that there if you move further forward. And then if you come towards the front kind of edge of the tongue, it's almost got a little bit of a slightly gooseberry, maybe limey quality as well, maybe even a bit of a kind of peary, appley ester coming out of this beer too. So there's a nice little bit of complexity just almost right on the tip of the tongue, but you've got some of these kind of more straight up passion fruit and mango flavours a little bit further back actually. But in terms of the flavour of this beer, you cannot fault it at all. It's got a nice bite to it, and that's really what you want. And I like this kind of new approach, if you like, that Nordic Kiwi seem to be, you know, have taken with this beer to for a New England IPA. I don't know if that is the influence of Stränge Brewing Company, but the malt base in this one has been done pretty nicely. The only way you could fault it, if you really wanted to, is that it comes across as a little bit more like a kind of double IPA in terms of its how the flavour comes out and things compared to some of the other beers that you might come across. But really, really nicely done, this beer, and it gets a big thumbs up from me in terms of its flavour. On the mouthfeel then, yeah, I think this is a mid-bodied beer. Carbonation's very smooth. The mouthfeel does lean towards the oily side of things. There is a bit of smoothness there, but really the mouthfeel in this beer is quite oily. It's one of the more oily New England IPAs you're going to come across in my mind. In terms of hoppy bitterness, I think we're looking at least 40, maybe even 50 IBUs in this beer. It does have a nice little bit of bite to it, but again, that kind of suits it, to be honest. It is nicely balanced actually. I think 50 IBUs for this one, to be honest. I'd be surprised if it was any lower than that. Although it could be 40. So 40, 50 IBUs, we'll go with that. Malt base, like I said, has a nice balance between smoothness and sweetness. I'd say the pungency of the wheat kind of pushes its way out in the malt base with this beer a little bit, so it does become a little bit drier the further you go into the aftertaste, and you've got some nice kind of oily fruity qualities to this beer as well. But overall, a really, really nice take on the New England IPA style, and I think both breweries have done an interesting job with this one. I will need to try and review the Clive IPA for you as well. I need to order that in and get that reviewed on the channel as well, because I have been impressed with this one. And like I said, I will need to do a dedicated review to Stränge Brewing as well, because this was my very first encounter with them. But yeah, let's just leave it at that for this review. If you get the chance to try this beer, I recommend that you do. They've done a nice job of this, and I think it'd be a bit of a shame if this is just a one-off, because it is a pretty damn solid New England IPA. It's the best one I've had from Nordic Kiwi Brewers so far, in my opinion. So yeah, we'll see that about it. And as I say, I need to try some more Stränge Brewing beers. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. The Kaos IPA, a collaboration between Nordic Kiwi Brewers from Ekerö and Stränge Brewing Company, originally from Strängnäs. But now brewing a lot of their beers in Ekerö, and the artwork comes from Graffiti Stockholm as well. You'll find all the links to the websites in the description below as well. So as always, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Stränge Brewing and from Nordic Kiwi Brewers too. I'm sure I'll return to both of these breweries at some point in the near future, but this is definitely a beer that you want to check out, and I will make sure I review the other half of this double act for you at some point soon. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Kaos IPA from Stränge Brewing Company and Nordic Kiwi Brewers near Stockholm here in Sweden. Until the next time, Slanje just now, and I'll catch you guys soon. Slanje, skål, cheers.